Been a while.
Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Well, today we got some good weather for a change. And it's going to be time to get out the hatchets and the axes and the chainsaws. So anyway, I've never really done anything on hatchets before. And actually I'm going to do this video in two parts. But what the theme is new versus old. And this is some of my collection here, the old ones. This one here is a new one. This is a Snow and Neally. And my son bought that so I could have a camping hatchet. It has you can put your belt through here and stuff, and small, lightweight for, like I say, camping, kindling, stuff like that, general purpose. What I use mine for, and not that often really, but I use them for if we have blow down trees that have a lot of branches on them and stuff, like fir trees mostly. I'll take all the small branches off of the needles and just save the main branch and cut it up for kindling. So anyway, we're going to start with this one, the Snow and Neally. Comes with a really nice cover there. And it's the head on these is all one piece, and the thing is that this one says made in USA. Well, the company's been around for a really long time, started in the 1860s, and they're a relatively small manufacturer, but at one point the company sold out and they moved production to China, and somebody bought it and brought it back. Now they're made and assembled by the Amish. So the thing is that the heads on these, axes have a two-piece bit. They have a hardened steel front piece, and these are made out of one piece of metal. And anyway, we'll talk about the metal itself. It's got a nice ring to it, and the type of steel that they use is 1020, and it's a high carbon steel. It has a nice feature that it holds an edge pretty good, and it's not super prone to chipping, although if it had a tool steel bit like the older axes had and stuff like that, hitting a rock they would chip, but the edges were super hard on them. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about each one. So like I say, that's a new one. And the overall length is 15 inches. Head's 1 1/4 pounds, 2 pounds with the handle. The face 3 3/8, and the pole, which is here, it's 2 1/8, and the width across the back here 7/8. You can see they use a combination of a straight wedge and these round wedges, so that would really be hard to get this to come off. That's really nicely done. And I believe these run about $60 today. So we'll move on to the vintage. Now this poor old rascal here is a Zenith brand. And I've talked about my Zenith lantern, theme collecting. So it's Marshall Wells Hardware Company, and I have a early axe from them too. This poor old beast here has some huge cracks in the handle here, and somebody put some nails in here to hold it together. And they had a old style cloth friction tape on here, which I took off, but I'm going to have to replace the handle. But there again, it's got some really good steel in it. And these all look to be that they're all made out of one piece of metal instead of a two-piece. So this one weighs 2 pounds, 15 inches long. Face is 3 3/8. The pole's 2 1/4. And the width is 7/8. Now this one, they've taken a wedge and hammered in sideways, and it's got some nails in there too. So some haywire farmer had it, really abused it, but the head's are really high quality, so it's still plenty usable. Been filed back quite a bit over the years. Okay, our next hatchet here is a Collins. This is Official Boy Scout Axe, USDA. That's the United States Department of Agriculture. It's got the Boy Scout logo here. This is one that I used more than any for a long time. Really holds an edge. It's got a nail puller here, and it's a 13 5/8 overall length here. Weight's 1.5 pounds. The head is 4 15/16 long. The face is 2 3/8. The pole is 2 inches. It's 3/4 inches wide at the widest part. And you can tell that's got really good steel in it too. Okay, well, our next hatchet here, this is made by the Kelly Works. It says True Temper on the back side here. It's got this really nice original repro handle here. It says Indian Fire on it. It has perfect grain structure. This is really nice. Now this one I don't use, but I'm going to do a restoration and polish it because it's got really nice logos on it here. Take this to the shows. So anyway, overall length is 13 5/8. And the weight is 1.5 pounds. It's 5 inch on the head. Face is 3. Pole is 2. And the width is 1. So you can see that the specs on most all of these small hatchets are intended for camping and just small general purpose use. And sounds good. Okay, our next hatchet here is a king cutter. That was made by or distributed by the Simmons hardware company. It was a huge deal, just like Marshall Wells and whatnot, and Sears in early days. This one is 13.5 inches long. Weight 1.5 pounds. Head is 5 1/8. Face is 3 1/8. The pole is 2 1/8. And the width is 7/8 of an inch. It has a really nice logo here. We'll try to come over and do a close-up on it. But the thing that's kind of interesting on this one is the handle here. Somebody's taken a shovel handle and cut it off, and looks like they used a hatchet to make the piece for the eye. And then they put some big wood screws and nails in here, so we'll get a close-up of that. But anyway, that's got really excellent steel. The thing is on this one too, here's the original catalog, and it shows a picture of it here. We'll take a picture of it. It's right here, and it talks in there how it's made out of one piece of steel, and it's basically a for hardware stores. It wasn't considered a super premium hatchet, but anyway, it's interesting that 1 dozen of them wholesale was $20.50, which was a fair amount of dough back then, but not today, obviously. And I have a new handle here for it, so we'll put that on there pretty soon. And the last one we've got here, this one is actually my most used one. It's our little Swedish Hults Bruk hatchet, and I've had this for a long time. Originally I just had a head, and I bought a new handle for it, and the handle I got from the Beaver Tooth Handle Company, genuine hickory. And the handles they have are really high quality, but they grade them, the really top end ones on down, and they rarely ever have the top end ones in. But this one, like I say, is my most used, and this one's my second most used now. So anyway, overall length is 14 5/8. The weight is 1.5 pounds. Head's 5 5/8. The face is 3, and the pole is 2 1/8, and the width is 7/8 of an inch. And this one's got a double wedge in it too. It's got one sideways, and then it's got the wood wedge in here. I think it's interesting on this one though, the steel in it doesn't sound as good as some of these others, but it actually has the best steel of all of them. Holds an edge better than any of them. But I don't know why it sounds like lead, but maybe some axe collector out there can tell me. Okay, we're just going to briefly talk about each one, same order. The things I like and the things I don't like. This, like I say, the ergonomics and the weight and everything are really nice on it. So a few features on this that I don't like is, number one is the edge they put on it here is as dull as can be. And the problem with that is if you're a first-time buyer and you don't have any files or any knowledge on how to sharpen them and stuff like that, and you go to use it like this out of the box there, you're going to be really disappointed because it's not going to chop for crap. And the other thing, which is more of a marketing thing, is has a thin layer of varnish or something like that on it. And the problem with that is if you don't get rid of it and oil the wood, then it dries out and gets brittle and cracks or breaks. So this one we're just going to leave it like it is since this belongs to my son. And otherwise I would strip it off and have to get rid of that nice logo on there. But the other thing is not so hot is the grain structure of the handle. You know, ideal is straight up and down. And this is at 45 degrees, and that's about the maximum you want to use. And the reason for that is that, you know, when you're chopping, you're putting all that shock into it, and the wood needs to flex. So if the grains are straight, the handle can flex like this, and if it's at an angle, it doesn't flex properly, and a lot of them it'll make the head come loose over time. So, but you know, it's reasonably priced, and if you can live with shortcomings and can deal with them and stuff, this would be a good choice. So. Next one is our Zenith, and like I say, this poor handle on this has big cracks all the way through it. It's been nailed a couple places and stuff, and then it was wrapped with old style cloth friction tape. It's probably usable, but like I say, I'm going to clean this and polish it all up, get that nice logo and stuff, and then use it as a show axe, or hatchet I should say. As you can see, the metal will polish up pretty nice on it, but you know, the ergonomics and the width of the handle, it's really nice. That's a really excellent little hatchet. The other thing too is here they put screws and nails and a wedge sideways and trying to keep it from coming off. That's terrible. So we'll move on to the next. Okay, well, this is our little Collins Boy Scout axe, hatchet. Well, the thing I like about this, especially for a little lightweight hatchet, perfect for camping, and holds an edge really well. It's got really good steel in it. The thing I don't like though is I don't like straight handles like that. I like them more like this, have a better grip on them and stuff. But still, for what it is, it's really nice. Got, like I say, really good steel and stuff in it. Okay, our next one is our Kelly. There again, it's designed basically for camping, and you know, if you had a cover like the one on the other one, you can put it on your belt there and stuff, nice and light. But personally, I don't like the straight handles, but this has a handle that feels just like a hammer, and you can get a really good grip on it though. And this is a replacement handle. It says Indian Fire. Really nice hickory and grain structure on it's really good. So anyway, there again, just a nice handy little thing to have if you like camping and woodcrafting a lot. You can use these for carving or making stakes and all kinds of things. So we'll move on to the next. Okay, this is our keen cutter, Simmons hardware hatchet, and there again, nail puller, small size, just kind of a universal camping axe or hatchet. And like I say, it's got this horrible handle here made out of a piece of shovel handle, I believe. And the way that's crudely chopped here, maybe they used the axe head or the hatchet head here to shape it so they could put it on here. And then in here you can see they've got screws and nails and all kinds of junk holding it on. It's terrible. So that one, I'm going to put a handle on it, and even though it's a really small head, I'm going to put a longer handle. I really prefer this type of a handle, a little bit more distance for chopping, especially for kindling and whatnot, and your hands are away from the work with a longer handle like this. And this one, the grain structure here, the new handle is straight across, which is perfect, so that'll be a nice upgrade. Okay, we'll move on to our last one. Okay, here's our last one. It's a little Hults Bruk, made in Sweden. And this is the replacement handle I talked about before. That's just about perfect for this thing here. It has some numbers and I don't know what it means, but it's got the Hults Bruk emblem. It says made in Sweden right across here. And for me, this would be about the perfect small hatchet to use because, like I say, the steel in it's the best of all of them, even though it sounds like lead when you tap on it. And just a great little piece. Okay, well, here's some diagrams of the way that the heads are formed on these things. You can see that they're very, very similar. This one is probably the most different, the Keen Kutter. And like I say, it's made out of one piece of metal, so it's the taper on it is not quite as much as the others. And I'm sure that was a cost-cutting feature. But anyway, you know, they all have a nice taper on for cutting down into the wood and snapping it apart. You can see they're very, very similar. Next thing we'll talk about is the grain structure on the handles. Now the first one here is the Snow and Neally. Like I say, it has a 45-degree angle, which is not very good. So you don't want it to have any more than that. And on the Zenith, it's perfect straight. Collins is straight. The Kelly is about a 30-degree angle, which is acceptable. Down here, the Hults Bruk is about 30 degrees also, very similar. Okay, well, the Keen Kutter, the grain structure is really fine on it, but like I say, it's a crappy shovel handle, and so it's horribly made, so we're going to replace that, and the replacement handle here has perfect grain structure like that. So part 2 is going to be about servicing the handles and sharpening them. I just wanted to take a quick picture and show you what we're going to sharpen them with. So I'll be right back. Okay, this is what we're going to use to sharpen this hatchet with. And like I say, this thing is as dull as can be. And the thing I don't like about the taper here is it's rounded. It's not a good edge for something like this. You need more of a straight or flat edge. So I'll probably have to straighten it, bring it back, get probably at least another 1/8 of an inch to get a proper edge on it. And then the other thing is I actually got a flaw in the face here. There's a couple of pits of blowholes in the metal. I'm surprised I didn't catch that at the factory, but you know how things are. That's why, which is better, new or vintage? Well, it's obvious, vintage. But anyway, my son will have a lot of fun with this. So when we come back and finish up our second half of the video, we'll sharpen 3 different ones and show you how to get a really fine edge on them, because you know there's different variations on sharpening, you know, for camping and stuff like that, kindling things. You want to have a really sharp edge. And okay, well, like I say, part 2 will be coming up here before too awfully long, and what we're going to be covering in that video, I'm going to be talking about how to prep the handles. These are some of the things we'll be using, and then we're going to be talking about these different oils and whatnot for treating the wood. We'll talk about the goods and the bads of each one, and then the last thing we're going to do is talk about sharpening and show you how we do it. So vintage is best. See you soon.